Hello again, and welcome to You Can Sketch Too. I think I ought to announce right at the start of this one that we're not actually going to be making a picture as such. What I plan to do in my next video with you is something similar to this street scene as an urban sketch. I say similar because I've already done this one. This was taken in Brecon during my visit last week, and yesterday I produced this sketch. Okay, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect rendition of the scene, but it's not too bad. It gives an idea of what it looks like. I was thinking about this. Now, I went out this morning to take some photographs because I'm not really ready to make a video out in the open air yet. And this one, that's that's Station Road in Port Talbot, the main street, and I think that's quite nice. That'll work quite well. I've got some from Prague, but they are pretty complicated. Whereas this, I think has got all the complication we're going to need for a while. But in order to do it, I think we need to spend a few minutes talking about perspective, and that's what this video's about. So if you feel, no, I'm happy with perspective, I understand all about it, I know how it works, I know what it is, then by all means, please feel free to fast forward to the end and then start on the next video, You Can Sketch 2, which will be You Can Sketch 2 number 4. But for the rest of us, if we just have a look at my piece of paper here, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes going through the basics of perspective, okay? When we say perspective, we're talking about the way that your brain processes information about how near and how far objects are. So let me start with a simple square here. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. There you go, okay? Now, what you've got there is you've got a flat two-dimensional shape. It's not very interesting, okay? We can make it more interesting by giving it depth, making it 3D. And then do that by drawing another square and joining it with lines. So if I do the square there. Now you might look at that and say to me, sorry, wrong way up. Ah, Dave, you have only added 2 lines to it. You haven't completed the square. And you're right, I haven't. But when I do the lines joining up the shapes, you'll see why. So we join corner to corner, corner to corner, corner to corner. And there you go. Nice 3D box. Ah, you might say, something about it doesn't look quite right. And the reason is that this back square here is at least as big as the one which we see in the front, or even bigger. Whereas we know that things which are further away look smaller. So even though I might have everything having the same cross section as this square, if it's further away, it would look as if it was slanting downwards. And this would have a different slant to it at the bottom. I'll show you what I mean. So start again with another square. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. And this time we'll join it to a much smaller square here. That's quite nice. So if I just join those up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. And that has created a sense of perspective to it. Now, a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, if you look where I am, the bottom is slanting up much more steeply than the top is. And that means that where I'm looking for, there's part of this where the slants, where you can see it's completely slanting up. So I'm actually looking at this probably from around about here, up here somewhere. Now it does mean if I had another line here, let's say a line between 2 stories of a house, from about halfway down, well, halfway down the short side, the far side is here, whereas halfway down the long side is here. So I'm going to have another slanting line. But the important thing is it won't slant as much as the bottom line, but it will slant more than the top line. I'll show you what I mean. So go from roughly middle to roughly middle. If I just mark that on there. Remember what I said? If you've been with me before, I often turn the paper to help me make straight lines. There you go. So if I turn that back round, and you can see it slants, the slant is somewhere between those 2 lines there. And that's useful because that line may actually correspond to a line of windows, for example. 1, 2, 3. You notice I haven't put the tops in because the tops, remember, have got to have their own slant. Slightly less angle than the roof, but they're much nearer to the roof, so they're going to be quite close to it. If I put those in, 1, 2, 3, like that. And then you can see I've got 3 windows on what's already starting to look quite like a building. You'll notice as well the gaps between each of the windows are slightly smaller, and each of the windows itself gets smaller. There's perspective again receding into the distance. Now, if you really struggle with perspective, what you can do is you can use your pencil. I'm not sketching pen. I'm going to do this in pen, but only because it'll show you what I mean. And you can actually, very lightly in pencil, use a ruler if you want to, if it helps, extend the lines to where the 2 of them meet, or where the 3 of them should meet. And what we've done there is we extended it, and if I did a whole picture, that's where my horizon line would be. You could see if I just put a couple more lines in, I've got another house there. I'll show you again. You see I put another house in. Look though, I want this house to be the same as this one, and yet I've drawn it much shorter. Why have I done that? Quite right, because it's perspective and things look smaller as they get further away into the distance. Shall I draw the windows in? Very quickly. 1, 2, 3. There you go. And you can see it's starting to emerge as I put more details into it. All I've got to do is make sure if I'm using any kind of line here, I have to look at the angle of slant. It cannot be more than the slant at the bottom. In fact, it shouldn't be as much as the slant at the bottom. Do I have to have the slant at the bottom of a greater angle than the slant at the top? Actually, no. Depending on the picture and the vantage point I'm taking it from. More commonly, the top will slant far more than the bottom because you are, where you're taking your photograph or making your sketch, you are far closer to the street level than you are to the rooftop level. And remember, the further away, the smaller things get. The greater the perspective, the more slant you put on it, the more dramatic you can actually make it look. So I think I've said enough for now about perspective, and next time we'll do a proper street scene together. Cheerio, see you soon.